Welcome to aFe's Power Play, where we power up your ride. I'm Mike Duval. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. Now, you've already seen us power up this 2009 Chevy Duramax in previous episodes. Well, now it's time for a facelift to give this truck a more aggressive look to go with all that newfound power. That facelift is going to come in the form of a leveling kit for the front, a new set of shocks, and a new set of wheels and tires. But don't worry, this isn't major surgery. It's just a minor nip tuck, yet the results are definitely going to be noticeable. We're at Off-Road Unlimited in Burbank, California. ORU is one of the premier truck and SUV parts and installation centers in the Southland. Before we do anything, we're going to measure the height in the front and get a mark on there so we know where we started out, so we know where we need to go. Now, you can put a line anywhere because it really doesn't matter as long as you measured the same line. And I'm measuring right from the floor. I've got 41 inches on this side. Now we're going to pull the valve cores out of this, let the air out of the tires before we take it down. Now these have TPMS, which does not stand for Two Pals Making Sushi. It stands for Tire Pressure Monitoring System, which you'll find on all the late model vehicles now. And there's actually a sensor on the back side of this valve stem. So what we're going to do, we need to remove the sensor, put it in the new wheels. And normally you could pull the valve stem out also and hopefully do it without destroying it, but we were lucky. We actually have replacement valve stems that we're going to use. And with this valve stem, we're going to just put this in the new wheel and your sensor is going to screw right onto the end and then we'll be all set. We won't have to pull the stems out of this. We'll leave these stems in, reseat the tires, and just air them back up for whoever's going to use them after us. These little clips are applied at the factory to keep the rotor on while they're assembling the vehicle. You generally want to remove these because they can interfere with some aftermarket wheels and your wheel doesn't seat all the way, so we take them all off. Okay, we're going to unload the factory torsion bars now and back out the bolts. Now, since this truck rides on torsion bars, the nice thing is we can get 2 to 2.5 inches of additional lift in the front and basically level the front of the truck simply by installing a set of these re-indexed ORU cogs. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually reload the torsion bar, but we're going to do it with this tool so we can remove the bar that's holding the cog up in there. Once you've loaded it back up, you can slide that out. Now it's going to fully unload when we release the tool. Now we're just going to slide the torsion bar forward and out comes the cog. Now sometimes the torsion bar sticks in here and you may have to tap it through that hole there to release it. Before we get busy on the front, we're going to go ahead and pop out the back shocks. Next, we're going to install the replacement rear shocks. Now, the suspension experts at Fabtech brought us a set of these Dirt Logic 2¼ inch diameter nitrogen charged shocks, and check this out. Remote reservoirs. That's added oil and added cooling for the shock. These are race-proven high-performance shocks, and these are definitely not your one-size-fits-all shocks. These shocks were specifically valved just for this application, so it's going to give us the optimum ride and handling. Now, normally your standard shock comes with polyurethane and hose clamps to hold the reservoir to the shock body, but today, junk. Fabtech gave us these trick 2-piece billet clamps to hold the reservoirs on, so that's what we're going to run with. And we've marked an area in the plastic inner fender well here that we're going to clearance out. 2 reasons. One, for a little better access to the top of the shock, and second, our remote reservoir is going to sit right in this pocket. We want to see that because it's a nice piece. Now we're going to release the upper ball joint here because we're going to need to put a bump stop inside the below the upper control arm. Okay, we're going to release the brake lines and the ABS lines here so we can manipulate this upper control arm a little bit. Okay, we've got our upper control arm up out of the way with the use of a screw jack. If you don't have a screw jack, you can loosen the 2 attaching bolts for the arm. Just mark where your alignment cams are so you maintain their position when you tighten it back up. The arm will flip right up out of the way. Now, we talked earlier about why you don't want to crank this vehicle up too far. Well, here's what goes on here. Normal riding position, this lower compression bump stop rides on this arm. There's a droop stop here that this arm comes down and hits when the vehicle comes up. Now, normally this metal-to-metal contact can't occur in the stock configuration, but now as we lift it and get our leveling, those arms are going to come down like this, which is going to put this a little closer to this, so going into a driveway violently, it could contact. So ORU gives you a little droop bump stop, and we're going to mark, they give you a specific measurement where it sits on this. We're just going to drill a hole, put this in here, and we're going to put this back together. That way when this arm, if and when it does come down in contact, it's going to hit polyurethane and not metal, so it won't make a lot of racket. And that's it. All right, now that we've got the nut back on the knuckle here and we have it supported with a stand, one thing you're going to find when you're trying to tighten that nut, if you don't have this pressure down in there, you'll spin that nut till you get old like me. So what you're going to want to do is get something where you can get a little bite. You'll find that when the ball joint's seated in the taper there, the shaft won't spin, and you can actually tighten the nut up relatively easy. Put our brake line brackets back in place. All right, next we're going to drop our shock absorber into place. We've let the nitrogen pressure out of this because we have nitrogen here at the shop to recharge to the shock. Let us compress the shock without it re-extending, so it's going to make it a lot easier to fit in here. You don't want to crank this down too far. You just want to squish this rubber just a little bit, get it snug. As you're putting this in, you can roll the reservoir and you can pretty much manipulate where this line's going to sit. All right, that finishes up this side. The other side installs exactly the same. Now we're going to put in our cogs. Okay, now we're going to reload the bar so we can slide our block back in. Okay, now we've reinstalled our bolts. We're going to run those back up a little ways, and we're going to bring it down and get our initial height check, and then we'll adjust them as we need. 41 to start, 43 inch to finish. We got 2 inches on this side. All right, 41 3/8 to start, and 43 3/8 to finish. Got it right on the money, 2 inches both sides. How I did that? Who knows? It's always a crapshoot. Well, the last part of our project is going to be the wheels and tires. Now, our friends over at Dick CPEC gave us a set of these Radial FC2 tires. Radial FC2 has an aggressive tread that's capable off-road also, but it gives you a quiet street ride. So they're off-road capable and smooth riding. We're going to wrap these around a set of their Torque satin finished black wheels with a machined edge. The Torque wheel is lightweight and really looks good on the truck and comes with a nice satin black cap. Now, prior to mounting our tire, we talked about putting in a replacement valve stem, so we're going to do that first. Now we're all mounted and aired up, let's get it over to the balancer. Well, that wraps it up for our facelift on this 2009 HD. It's definitely got a new personality. We'll see you next time on aFe's Power Play.